tell us who you are, kind of your lifestyle, what fitness was like before you started, and just kind of a nutshell of where you were before you started with an online coach.
My name's Corey Welsh. I live in Orangeville, Pennsylvania. I do construction for a living, so I've always been pretty active. My son and I both ride motocross, so we also have that going on. So a lot of activity, a lot of, like I said, just always doing something. But I had always worked out kind of on my own. Years ago, I had a friend that went to the gym all the time and kind of asked him what he did. So he gave me his list of workouts, and I had done that for quite a few years. Kind of got stale, got a little bit boring and kind of inconsistent. So I was looking for a change.
So you were doing like the same set of workouts for a couple years, you said?
Yeah, and it was fine at first, and it did work, but it got boring, and it made me not want to do it because it was boring. I was getting to the point where I sort of dreaded doing it. I wasn't enjoying it, and if you don't enjoy something, you're not going to do it. Even if you know it's the right thing to do, you can't force yourself to do it because it's not kind of fun, or workouts aren't always fun, but kind of just needed a change. And I had tried a couple different things. I had done the workouts, but what happened too was I kind of got away from that. And once I got away from it, I guess I didn't realize how far I was kind of getting away from it. And we had gone on vacation, my wife and I got home from vacation and felt really blah and stepped on the scale, which I never really did, and was like, whoa, got something's definitely not good here. So kind of did some calorie counting at that point and tried to kind of get things back in check. And while I did, sort of got back into the same kind of thing where you get your calories in check, and it works. And I did lose weight. I got back down to about where I wanted to be, or I felt healthier. But then you can't sustain that kind of. It was like, okay, well, I'm just counting calories. I'm still doing the same boring workouts. So it was good. It got me pointed in the right direction, but it wasn't quite where I wanted to be.
I'm glad you started talking about nutrition. That was going to be my next question. What did your nutrition look like before you had started working with an online coach?
For the most part, just restricting calories. It wasn't geared towards what I was eating, although obviously calorie counting, you have to watch what you're eating.
Mhm.
But it was more, it was more just stick to those numbers. It wasn't really, my water intake still wasn't good. I was, to be honest, horrible with the energy drinks and stuff like that. I'm a big coffee drinker, which I would drink, 3 cups of coffee in the morning and then go right to an energy drink.
Mhm.
And then in the afternoon, I'd maybe have another one. So my water intake wasn't very good. A lot of things like that were going on. And I knew that, but I didn't really force myself to change it because my weight was still down where I thought was okay. But I still didn't really feel, like I said, I wasn't really where I wanted to be at that point.
Mhm.
So I felt like we could do better. Horrible sleeper. I just, I'd wake up in the middle of the night, and being a business owner, I'd stress out about things. So you wake up in the night, you're up, your mind's going, you're not sleeping sound either, for sure. So
What would you say your biggest challenge in your health and fitness journey beforehand would have been? What do you feel was stopping you from seeing the results that you wanted to see?
I think consistency. I had tried different things, which I think was good. I even did some intermittent fasting and some stuff like that, trying to, maybe see what works, and kind of on my own what worked and what didn't. But I didn't really stick to anything. Nothing felt like it was not something I could sustain. It was not
Mhm.
something that I could do every day. And intermittent fasting seemed okay, but then, like, I'm starving myself until noon, and then
Mhm.
I'm cramming all those calories in until 8 o'clock at night or whatever it was. I tried to stay in that 8 hour window.
Mhm.
So it just nothing. Everything I tried, nothing felt like it was sustainable. So that was my biggest thing. It was, and then obviously, if you're not sustaining something, you're not being consistent. So you're not gonna get the long term results. It was kind of like a flash in the pan sort of workouts, or diets.
Right. Right. So compared to where you were when you first started to where you are now, how are you feeling with your nutrition?
It's night and day difference. I just feel like the food that I'm eating is so much better for me, feel
Mhm.
better. So, and sleeping is a huge part of it. We'll wake up in the middle of the night now and immediately back to sleep, and just a much more sound sleep, which I've always struggled with. Feeling like I have more energy. I'm 42, so some days there's tough days where energy is a little tough to come by. So even though I'm an active guy, it's still, you still get worn down, you're worn out. But I feel like those days are less and less now. And recognizing what I'm eating, the water intake alone was huge. Drinking a gallon of water a day now, still trying to get the whole going to the bathroom thing under control, I guess, because
On the job
you
sites,
know,
I'm sure that's fun.
oh man, horrible. So, but worth, it's one of those things that, it's fine. A little bit of inconvenience is okay, because in the long run, like I said, I feel better. But yeah, the water intake was a huge part of my game, cutting out the energy drinks. And like I said, the food I do eat now is much better food than I would gravitate towards before. It's a little more planning now,
Hmm.
but then you don't just go grab something out of the fridge or out of a convenience store, without thinking about what I'm putting in my body first now. But it's easier now than it was when I first started, for sure.
That's awesome. And you're still able to enjoy those fun meals every once in a while too, right?
Yep. Yep, definitely, definitely. I know you're big on it, and I agree with it. Is balance. We do a lot of work during the week, a lot of planning, a lot of eating, good things. But then on the weekend, if there's one meal that we want to kind of cut loose on, it's be able to do that. We do it. I mean, obviously, you still pay attention that we, balance our day beforehand, but you still have to live your life and enjoy the things that you want to enjoy, for sure.
Absolutely. And I think the whole planning it out beforehand, like that just shows your dedication to the lifestyle change. Like you want to feel better. You know that doing what you've been doing is what makes you feel good, but obviously still wanting to have that freedom to go enjoy a meal that might not make you feel the greatest, but just
Right.
making sure that you're covering all your bases beforehand is it just shows the lifestyle change and not just like a quick fix too.
Well, definitely, and even when we do, my wife and I both have noticed that when we do, we'll call it our soul meal. Sometimes you don't eat the things that your body's not used to them anymore. So it
Mhm.
does make you realize that, oh my gosh, I used to eat every meal like that. I don't know how I did it, because there's times
Mhm.
now where you're like, you start realizing that your body doesn't respond well to foods that you're really not supposed to have or shouldn't have very often. So
So do you feel like you've made the progress that you've wanted to see so far? Like, what successes do you feel like you've seen since we've been working together? I think it's been about a little over 3 months now, right?
yes, yep.
So, do you feel, I know
Um,
we started with that 6 month commitment agreement kind of thing, but I know you've seen, in my opinion, awesome results. So, I want to hear your side of things too.
So the benefits, kind of like I touched on before, the sleeping better, having more energy, and then the physical things. Yeah, I'm a guy. I don't stand in front of the mirror all the time and check myself out, but there's things you notice. It's kind of neat, because every week or every few weeks that go by, it's like, oh hey, there's that muscle's popping today or something, or you know sort of little things like that. It's neat. It I guess, even looking at the photos, we do the photos every week. I hadn't really sat and stared at them till you had actually a post on Instagram the one day that I looked at, and I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize how much things had changed in that amount of time. But it
Hmm.
makes you feel good. It makes you know that it's working. You're putting in the work, and the results, they're there, and it's a whole kind of total package. It's neat, very neat.
That's awesome to hear. I love that. And I know you were like, "Oh my gosh, I didn't even realize I made those results." And it's like right there. I mean, even with just adding the gallon of water a day, I feel like that
Oh yeah.
changed drastically just in the first week. And
Yep.
just 12 weeks consecutively of that, it's really showing how much that really makes a difference.
Yep, definitely. The first week, I think we had talked about, that was one of the biggest things I noticed, was just dropping kind of that water weight, because I deprived myself of the water, and then the stuff that I was drinking wasn't good for me. So yeah, definitely a neat change.
Yeah. So, what kind of did you have any apprehension with like tracking your food before you started, or were you like kind of, I don't really want to be that crazy about it?
So in truth, my wife started this before I did, and she did an awesome job. I'm watching her and I'm watching what she's eating, and I'm like, this is the weirdest diet I have ever seen in my life. Like, we would sit down, and of course, like I said, I was maybe doing the intermittent fasting. Well, she's eating this gigantic breakfast. I'm like, what are you doing? That's horrible. And I didn't know any better. So, but watching her and watching the results and the work she was putting in, and I'm like, this is working. Like, I could see it. Like, I lived it, I saw it, and I'm like, okay, she's eating a lot of food. Now, granted, it's good food. She's working out, and in truth, when she started, I thought, oh my gosh, she's going to be miserable because she's a full-time, she has a full-time job, she's a full-time mom, all the responsibilities around the house. So I'm thinking, man, we are going to suffer because if mom's not happy, no one's happy. And honestly, her attitude through all of that, I was floored because she had more energy, she was happy. So I kind of had an inkling of what I was getting myself into, and watching her do it, I thought, okay, I'm going to give it a shot. She's much more committed at things than I am. So I was kind of a little nervous about tracking and doing that. I had her in my corner telling me like it's a little overwhelming at first, and it is.
Hmm.
If you've never tracked, done macro or tracking or anything like that before, it's definitely a different animal than just calorie counting. But once you learn it, if you take the time, it does, and you stick to it, it does come easier. And then it's, we plan the night before. So, the day before, we have all our meals for the next day planned, which is kind of nice because once you get that done, you don't have to think, oh, what am I going to have for, lunch or dinner, whatever. You know what you're doing. So yeah, it was a little nerve wracking at first, but I had it a little bit easier because I had, her to kind of lean on, and obviously a coach is a big part of it. Being able to ask if you don't know, and yeah, it was a little bit nervous to start, but once you do it and get kind of the system down, it's definitely, I think, a nicer way to live.
Definitely. And again, with the planning ahead, like if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. Like it's as simple as that. You can't be playing macro Tetris like
Yeah,
last minute unless you're like, I love living in chaos. Let's bring it every day. It tends to
right.
get boring, it's stressful, it's more time consuming when you're not planning ahead. So,
Yep. And I believe me, it was one of the best decisions I made. It's a total different kind of different lifestyle almost, which you don't really expect when you get into it, but it's different, but a very good different.
and I remember this might be a little different for you because I know when you went on vacation, you found that you just can't trust yourself. But macros is also not
Mm.
something you have to do forever. It's more of just a tool to open your eyes, and I think that's exactly what it's done. Now,
Yeah.
you just being your personality, maybe you want more of that structure, and it is something that you'll continue to do, maybe on and off throughout the rest of your life, but it's always something that you can come back to. It's not something that's going to go away. It's not something that's going to change. It's just kind of something there that you can pull out of your toolbox when you need it, you know?
Correct. And honestly, my wife and I have talked about that fact because we are planners. We're very structured, maybe a little boring to some, but we do enjoy doing this. And it's the first, I guess the first, I don't want to call it a diet because I don't really like referring to it as a diet because I don't feel like it's a diet. It's the first time we've ever done anything like this that we feel like, and we both talk about it, we are going to just continue to do it because I feel like if I do get away, like, yes, you're correct, I could come back to it, but I don't want to, not that I want to start over, but
Mhm.
I want to stay. I like the way I feel doing this. So to me, and we're planners, so planning the meals, it's not even, we don't even look at it as like an inconvenience at this point. It's just normal.
Right.
So for us, like I said, it's the first thing that we've done that we just would, we're going to keep doing it because it's a lifestyle change, and we're good with it.
Right. I love that so much. And I totally agree. I don't think tracking macros is a diet. I would not consider it a diet. Like, to me, what a diet is the foods that you eat. It's not like a restriction. It's not no carbs. It's not no fat. It's like, what do you eat on a daily basis? And macros is pretty much that because, like we've both experienced, you can eat the Oreos if you want the Oreos. You can eat the pizza if you want the pizza. It's all about that 80-20 balance. And it really is a lifestyle change. And I think that's the driving factor of the whole like sustainable part of it, you know?
Yep, definitely.
So what would you say to someone who was on the fence about maybe reaching out for help or realizing they're at a spot where they need help and just need like a little bit of encouragement to get the help that they need?
I think the biggest thing is it's an investment, but you're investing in yourself, in your health. I know my wife and I both have talked about the fact that it's so nice to have a coach to lean on because we have full-time jobs, we're parents, we have kids. There's just not a lot of time in life to sit down and do research and
Mhm.
figure out, what's going to work. Oh, well, I'm going to try this macro thing, or hey, I'm going to build my workouts for whatever, next week. We just don't have that kind of time, or really to want to do that, we just it's tough to do. So having a coach, someone to lean on, someone to do that kind of planning for you, where it's like, okay, this is what I'm doing, whether it's workouts or just to help you along, even with the macro stuff. Like I said, I had her to kind of bounce stuff off, but really I would have struggled a lot more. And I know when she started, she was very, I don't want to say kind of confused, but sort of it's overwhelming when you start. But she could
Mhm.
rely on, I know I heard the phone call or some of the calls. She would rely on you to kind of point her in the right direction, help her out. It's like I said, it's an investment, but it's one of the best investments that I believe both of us have made. In my opinion, it's money well spent for sure.
I love that, and that is something that comes up a lot is, like, the money part of it because it's our hard-earned money, we wanna hold on to it, but I think what a lot of people and what I used to believe as well is it's not just money, like, I heard someone say the other day, "Well, that's a lot more expensive than a gym membership," but with a gym membership, that's all you get, access to the equipment. When you get
Right.
the coach, you get someone to rely on, you get someone to help you plan, help you make changes, but after your time with them, you get to take it with you. You get
Right.
to impact others, you get to influence others, change their lives, and I think that's the coolest part about it is you can change someone's entire life. You can keep them from getting a disease. You can keep their families healthy, help them raise healthy kids, you know?
Mhm.
Like
Yep.
the investment affects more than just the person investing the time, the money, the resources, whatever it may be.
Definitely. And we've had the $10 Planet Fitness memberships. It's easy to walk away from those because
Mhm.
you can walk where you want. And I mean, what are you out? 10, $20, whatever. It doesn't matter. But when and I know my wife was the same way when she started with you, was she's going to spend the money, she's going to do the program
Mhm.
because doesn't like wasting money. It, like I said, it's money well spent. But it's a commitment, and if you make it and you do the work, it works. I mean, the results are there. You can
Mhm.
check out your Instagram feed and watch and look at tons of people doing it. And if you stick to it and do the work, you'll see the results. And it's well worth the money to spend to do it for sure.
Yeah, I love that, and I think that's a great note to kind of end all of this on. Obviously, you've seen great, great success with this program, with the whole macro thing. Like, you've had an awesome transformation. So I thank you for hopping on this call with me and kind of speaking your truth, telling people about your story and your success because it's really incredible. And I appreciate you taking the time to hop on the call and tell everyone about it.
Thank you.